Hi, everyone, and welcome to this installment of our Foundation for Free Enterprise Education speaker series. My name is Scott Lee, and today I'm very pleased to have with us Laurie Ryan, the Executive Director of the Exton Region Chamber of Commerce. Laurie is going to be covering a great topic today that I'm sure is on the minds of many of our viewers. Will your college major matter to your career success? Laurie holds a BS in food marketing from St. Joseph's University, and in 1986 she began her career with Kellogg's Sales Company. After taking a hiatus from the workforce to raise her two children, she was a store manager for Wendell August Forge and sales manager of Buca de Beppo, a chain of restaurants owned by Planet Hollywood. While there, she oversaw events, catering, and large parties. After volunteering with the Chamber for a number of years, in 2016 she became the Executive Director, where she's responsible for strategic and financial planning, events and programming, and member growth and retention. But she's most proud of the connections she facilitates between businesses and organizations in the region. Laurie serves on the Board of Directors of the Chester County Children's Incorporated, the Advisory Board of IHI International. She's a member of the Rotary Passport Club of Westchester and the West Whiteland Friends of the Park Committee. She enjoys traveling, meeting new people, and new recipes. Laurie lives in Westchester with her husband, Sean, his son, Brendan, and their dog, Johnny Cash. Welcome, Laurie. It's great to have you with us today.
It's great to see you too, Scott. I called you Scott. No, okay, yeah. But, I usually see you this time of year, up at PFEW, and I'm just thrilled to be able to have this opportunity. As you know, it's my favorite time of the year, and I really miss being there, but I'm glad I can contribute in any way that will help the students.
Believe me, we are too, and as disappointed as we are, this speaker series is ending up being a wonderful additional programming for our foundation. So thanks for agreeing to participate. So let's dive right in. This is a great topic for our listeners, and you are the perfect example of someone who isn't working in a field related to your original college major. So why don't you describe for our listeners why you initially chose to pursue your degree in the food industry and where you thought you'd be at this stage in your career?
Okay, so, and it's very interesting because I was in a networking Zoom call yesterday, and the same topic came up with a gentleman that went to a neighboring university, Villanova, around the same time I was pursuing my education at St. Joe's back in the early 80s. But I was really, we were in a bad economy, similar to, 2008, 9, 10, whatever, and possibly what's going to be happening, post-COVID. But I was paying for my education myself. I needed to have a job when I got out of college. I've always been interested in learning, the pursuit of learning, and I loved having that well-rounded education, but really needed a career where I was going to be able to be interviewed with good corporations, get a job, pay off my student loans, which were, I think I had $10,000 in student loans in the early 80s. But so my uncle worked for M&M Mars. He went through the program. It was a really great program. I enjoyed it. I still had all of the liberal arts education. I was a commuter, but it really, my focus was get a really good job. I was so fortunate to work for Kellogg's Sales Company for 10 years. I started, I was the oldest of 5 kids, really afraid, but I moved away, had a company car, all the cereal I could want, an expense account. I was just living large and traveling all over first class. I won a trip to Hawaii. I mean, it was super, super awesome. And I thought, wow, I made the best decision in my life to become, a sales manager for Kellogg's. And I did. And when you say, where do you think I would be now? The truth be told, when I was 22, 23, even 28 years old, I never even considered a 56-year-old Laurie. It never even was. It was like, well, I always got promoted every 2 years. That was my goal. Just keep moving forward, getting another position. And I just assumed, like some of my counterparts who I hired or started around the same time I did, I assumed I would be, top level management by the time I was with the company 25, 30, 35 years. And then things happened.
Yeah. Well, that's the perfect segue into our next question, because studies show that your generation and my generation, I'm in your generation, I'm a little bit older, but we will have an average of 3 to 5 jobs in our lifetimes. But today's young people will have an average of 10 to 15 jobs in their lifetime, maybe even as much as 20. And if you do the math, that's a job every 2 years. Right. What advice would you give to our viewers, high school students, as they consider college or career in order to maintain this kind of flexibility?
And thank you for, my answer is twofold. So when I was talking with this gentleman yesterday, and actually I spoke with a group of people this morning, and we were talking about it as well. They're all in our generation as well, and in different industries. But the biggest thing I think you need to do, and it's very hard as a parent, I've raised children, to not overthink it. I really think that similar to, what my goal was to learn, I loved learning, but also keeping that open mind, not overthink it. I think sometimes we all, our parents, they want us to impress their friends, like, well, what is your child doing? Or what are they going to do when they grow up? And that is the focus, and the pressure is, oh, I need to make my parent look good, or I need to go to this great school, because if not, I'm not going to get a good job. I'm not, and that's all noise. Because honestly, if you keep an open mind and don't overthink it, you're going to get in the right path, at least to start, and then be able to explore other things.
Great. So there's a lot of debate out there about the actual value of a college education, meaning that, a lot of students today come out with huge amounts of debt, and they either can't find a job in their field of study, or else their field of study leads to a very lower paying job where they can't really afford the student debt payments and things like that. Is there any insight that you can give? I know that you said earlier that you were all about, getting a great job and advancing and paying off your debt and things like that. What advice would you give to students as they're thinking about, should I even go to college, or, what do you think the best path is for them?
So this is going to be a longer answer. That was the way we were brought up. My ex-husband, the father of my children, that's the way you were brought up. You get a corporate job. My father worked for the federal government his whole life. You work hard, you get ahead, you get a job, you get an education, you get a job. I mean, education was always very important to my family, as was the father of my children. And when it came to our children going to decide what they were going to do, my son, he just became a dentist last week, so he knew his path. It was very important for him to know what his major was. But when he started, he was biology, pre-med, and that became pre-dent. So even someone who, had that goal, who now has like $500,000 worth of student loans to pay off, okay? But then you transfer that with my daughter, who I found out in her second year at St. Joe's, which isn't, a state school or anything like that. I found out in her second year of school that what she really wanted to do was to be a stylist. And she mentioned to me, when I finish St. Joe's, I'm going to go back to beauty school, or whatever it's called. And I was so crestfallen as a parent who works with so many students in this role as president of the Exton Chamber of Commerce, to see that I never really listened to my daughter, and that college really probably wasn't her, or that type of college. I was happy because at least she had, a liberal arts education. But again, when she graduated, the job didn't come. And she has all this debt. She's living with her father, she's 24 years old, and that job in her industry, which was graphic design, didn't come. And she's already had 3 different jobs. One as working at a daycare. She loved that job, but she didn't have a degree, so she couldn't be a teaching degree, so she couldn't be a teacher. Then she worked for a sign company that was small and it didn't work out. And now she's getting the best learning I think she could ever have, because she's working for an entrepreneurial couple, young couple, who own a shared workspace company and a marketing company. So she's doing marketing for them, meeting all these other entrepreneurs in a Main Street town, and she is getting real world learning where she could go and get, her master's, and, she gets still pushback from, her father saying, why don't you have that corporate job and all this other stuff. But I'm like, this kind of learning. So I think in a lot of ways, your parents or, people that are advising you are thinking of not necessarily what's going to be best for you, but what they think is, going to be best for you. So I think that's like something I know a lot of the school districts, at least, in this area, are trying to really get to the heart of the matter.
You go ahead.
Yeah, no, and my stepson, he just graduated high school this year and really doesn't have an idea of what he wants to do. So we have encouraged him to go to Delaware County Community College. I mean, he wants to be a cop, but, he's still a little bit, unsure. So let's get some of these, basic classes out so you don't have that kind of debt, and then pursue, a 4-year degree if that's what your intentions are. Or you might want to continue to work at this restaurant that you have this great job at this summer, so you don't know until you experience what you need to help you make those
You're
decisions.
right. That's great advice. And, I can use that in my own personal life, because my son left college. He didn't want to rack up the debt. He didn't like what he was studying. And he said, I'm going to take a step back here, and I'm going to take some time for myself and figure it out. I think that's a great lesson for us. We as parents, I think, impose a lot on our young people, and we put a lot of pressure on them to figure out what they want to do for the rest of their lives at 17. And that model may have been okay for us, but that model has changed a great deal. So thanks for that. That's great advice. So
can I just add one more thing? This gentleman that I met with yesterday, he had the coolest career, in my opinion. Okay. He started off in foreign markets. He would and he worked in New York City. He, is this brilliant financial brain. Okay. And when he, got later in his 50s, he realized his job kept getting done away with. And so now he's working on his own as a certified financial planner, and he's, being his own boss. And, that's just a whole different way to do things. But what he said yesterday was so valuable to me. He was talking to another middle-aged person, but about he wished he had done that change 15 years ago. But more importantly, he said, sometimes you think that smartest person in the room that racks up all these great degrees from, Harvard or Yale are the ones that are the huge success. And this is probably going to lead into the next question. But honestly, he said, I've met some people who might not really be the brightest bulb, in the room, but they know what it's at. They know how to make things happen, to be successul, and, to be happy. So, and that's from someone who I just am like, oh my God, I can't believe I can't even talk your language, speak your language, let alone understand it.
Yep.
So
I think in the trap for us in a lot of cases as human beings is we compare our insides to someone else's outsides. And you hit the nail on the head. I mean, we're looking at all these degrees and all these, accomplished skills and maybe the job history or something like that. And we think, oh my God. Well, we don't understand that at the end of the day, it's really about knowing ourselves and how we define success. So you're absolutely right. It leads into the next question. Laurie, you went from the food industry to the chamber business and stuff like that. It's totally outside of what you wanted to do, but how would you define success, and what education or skills would you recommend that every single one of our viewers has in order to succeed no matter what career they choose?
So in terms of success, everybody has different personalities, right? But I think in some cases, people never think they've reached the success, like what success should be, and like you said about looking at the outside of people. I met with a woman, I was actually in Minneapolis last week, and I haven't seen her in 24 years. She's lived out there for 24 years. I'm sitting there going, okay, well, I was raising children. This woman is, she was a statistician, which is, usually a brainiac. They don't know how to deal with people that well. That's a terrible she said it, not me. But she didn't just say, I'm very smart. She still continued to want to learn. I think that's one thing that everybody has. The ability to keep wanting to learn new things and not being afraid to try new things. Technology for people our age was hard to get used to, even like Zoom calls like this, where, some younger people that they were born with it, you know what I mean? So the ability to learn. But this woman, I was like, oh my God, she's a global sales leader selling medical equipment, and, she leads a team, and they got hacked right before COVID, and they lost everything. They lost all of their information, and they still had the best March, April, and May ever because of the equipment they were selling overseas to help fight COVID. But she didn't just go, so it's really resilience, trying to, sometimes it's very hard to have things not go your way. There might be some kids that are looking at this and they really wanted to get into Pitt or Penn State, and they didn't, and or somewhere else, and it's really hard to not always win, but that resilience, the openness to learn, and the ability to just check yourself, is this, if you're not feeling that it's the right thing for you, to be able to take that risk and try something else.
Well, that's great advice too. And, you took your own advice, obviously, because you volunteered for the chamber, and then all of a sudden it morphed into you becoming the executive director. And all it took was you saying yes to somebody asking you a question. So maybe it could be just as simple as that. And when you talk about checking yourself, what would you say to the person who is defeated already because they think that they're not good enough, or that they're not, smart enough, or that they're only going to a community college and stuff? How do they tune out all this other nonsense in their world and really focus on their own path? Because realizing that no matter what you do in your career, it's the things that, it's everything is adding to your experience, and it's going to lead you somewhere. I think we are impatient as a society. What advice would you give to these young people who are just starting out, who may get, punched in the throat and just say, I can't do this anymore? How would you boost them up?
Scott, it's not easy, right? I wish there was like this magic pill I could say, oh yeah, all you have to do is read this book, and you'll be able to not have self-defeating talk, in your brain all the time. We're always, that is part of the human nature to sometimes be affected by what people say, or, you internalize what people think or do. And that's what I love about PFEW, because the speakers that have spoken have really spoken a lot to that, because they've overcome that as well. So what I would say is, if you don't have like a family member who understands that you need to be lifted up a little, or just be able to focus on something positive, even in a whole thing of negative, to find some other type of mentor, whether it's, another family member, or, someone that you work with, someone who sees you for who you are. Try to be around those people. Try not to be around negative people. I mean, these are all life lessons that we've learned as we get older, but that it is a lot about who you hang with, that are maybe feeling bad about themselves, so they have to put you down, so those kind of things. I really think you have to look, when you're feeling not good enough, you really have to look without too, not just within, to try to build yourself up. And that's what I love about programs like PFEW, or any kind of program where you're with your peers, but also with mentors and advisors to help you and support you.
Well said. And it's the perfect way to end this time. Laurie, I could talk about this all day long, but thank you so much for opening up maybe someone's eyes to the fact that their future is really limitless, and it all depends on their flexibility and how they see themselves and how their attitude is, and surrounding themselves with good people that will actually benefit them and get them somewhere, lead them somewhere. Fantastic advice. I can't thank you enough for being with us here today. I can't thank you enough for all your support of Pennsylvania Free Enterprise Week and our foundation. I wish you well during this time. Thanks so much. It was a great conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions for Laurie that you want to reach out to her individually, her contact information will appear at the end of this video. Once again, Laurie, thanks again. Any final words? Reach out to me. Yeah, reach out to me. Thank you, Scott. Again, I can't wait till next August. My favorite weekend of the year. But please reach out to me. I'm available if you need any help, advice, or me to talk longer. I love to talk. So thank you for having me, Scott. And I look forward to seeing the whole library at some point. Sounds good, Laurie. Thanks a million.
Okay.
Be well.